But really, it's a pleasure to be here at MozCon and spend time with you all today. It's hard to believe that I attended my first MozCon in 2012, back when it was at the West End. I think I heard Aleda speak last night over dinner. She said that was like the only second time she had spoken like internationally in an English-speaking language, so it's really wild. So I've been around a little bit. And what I've really noticed is that through all of these wonderful presentations and hearing about the challenges and the changes and the disruption in search, one thing that I noticed that kind of struck me as odd is that we never really differentiated between B2B and D2C, or B2C, depending on what camp you live in. And I found that really odd. I also did a lot of self-reflection in 20 years working in search and said, man, I really work in a lot of obscure industries with a lot of different B2B brands. And I really didn't notice that, I really didn't start to discuss those types of brands that we work with until I meet with younger professionals. So I talked to them in colleges and universities, and what I discussed is I discussed the mashup of B2B and SEO as really being, we work with the businesses that make the brands, the products that you as consumers use every single day. And I think we all kind of need a reminder of that. It might feel elementary, but we need a reminder of that, because for all of the brands that have become household names out there, all the brands that you saw on many of the slide decks that we're all talking about, there are companies there that are supporting them. As a car guy, I'm going to gravitate towards that. So I loved Andy's discussion earlier this morning, even though John DeLorean was a little bit of a nutcase. There's over 30,000 parts that go into manufacturing the average car that you drive down the road every single day. GM, Ford, Tesla, it doesn't matter. There's 30,000 parts. So you start to multiply that. Whoever's making those parts, there's a process that goes into it. There's equipment that manufactures that. That's B2B. There are more businesses that do that type of work than there are the household brand names that you and I know every single day. And the decisions that are being made, a lot of those are CapEx. They're CapEx investments, which means it requires a lot of human capital, a lot of human research that goes into that. I want you to be aware that's something that, quite frankly, like AI is going to have a really difficult time disrupting. Now, industry-specific pages and landing pages play an important role in what we do as B2B marketers. And as digital marketers and SEOs, we love to create them. We love to. It's like the first thing that agencies do. Marketers create them to create relevancy in a particular industry. And as SEOs, we're tasked and we're charged with optimizing them for relevance in search. But more times than not, I found that those two, especially now more than ever, rarely ever line up with one another. See, there's this misconception. After nearly 20 years in the industry, I've noticed that there's this common misconception. It's this misconception that industry pages are going to be the key to unlocking customers in any particular vertical. And I understand that complexities exist, don't get me wrong. I understand there are different business units, there are different constituents that we have to report to. Everybody has their own needs, but what I really want to tell you is that your industry pages are all bullshit. Sorry, Mav. And that's really what I wanted the title of my slide deck to be, is I wanted it to be all industry pages are bullshit, but I didn't think that would be quite accepted. So some of this is out of frustration, right? So your experience, if you spent any amount of time working with B2B brands, you've probably run across this need, and it's the need that's driven by either an internal team or an agency, because agencies are guilty of this. Mine is no exception to that. Where sales or marketing meets with product engineering because we need to help them sell more widgets. Our internal problem is we want to sell more things. We need to meet a sales goal, so what do? We meet with that team, we create an industry page, we try and prop it off. But unfortunately, this tends to be out of touch with reality with the customer and their needs and their expectations. Because often the individuals that are in this room, having that conversation, developing the strategies, coming up with the tactics that we're going to deploy to go and rank and to be relevant in that industry, are not at the table with this audience. So there's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect that happens. And my question is, do you even realize this is happening to you? You've probably been a part of these conversations and you don't even know what's going on. You're not aware of it. But the typical approach goes something like this. So the CMO or the sales team comes in, they say, hey, we want to do more business with those in the aerospace business, in the aerospace industry. So what do? We prop a page up that talks about all the wonderful things that we do in aerospace because they're a special snowflake. Next comes automotive and their unique needs, allegedly. Healthcare and pharma? Sure, we can do that too. Prop a page up for all the great things we do in healthcare and pharma. Medical, yeah, we do that stuff all the time. Let's talk about compliance and certification, sure. That's what people search for and care about. SaaS products, those of you who work in SaaS are not absent from this either. When was the last time you did a search for the best pest control, lawn care, or pool service software out there? The fact that Gorilla Desk, I'm not up here crapping on Gorilla Desk, but the fact that they can achieve all of these and have landing pages for each one of these, I'm not the SaaS expert. I'll let Ross Simmons speak to that, but this doesn't make sense to me. So unfortunately, what we're left with industry pages that just often miss their mark, right? Because there's that disconnect between the people that were in room number 1 and the people that need it in room number 2. We get into this concept I call relevance versus reality. So more times than not, the relevance or the relevancy that these industry pages actually rank for, or what Google thinks they're about, is far from accurate. And oftentimes we don't take a step back to really think about that and think that through when we're running our monthly reports and we're in those quarterly meetings. But for as much commerce that is done globally in the B2B space, so as much B2B commerce that's done at a global scale, search is still to this day very consumer driven. There wasn't a single example slide today or yesterday that wasn't consumer oriented, right? Because Google knows, that's where Google makes their money. Let's be real, we understand where they make their money. We know they make their money on bad PPC, but they make their money off of consumer driven products. So search isn't kind for those of us in the B2B space. Search, unfortunately, if you're a B2B marketer, is not a kind place. If you look at the landscape, you do a simple search for something like material handling equipment, which I get is super vague if you're not into it. Look at the environment. Look at what's around us. This is all consumer driven. I'm not going to stand up here and argue who Uline is and who they serve and who Grainger is and who they serve and Northern Tool. FYI, we all can go to them and buy from them as consumers too. Google knows this. This is what they serve you. So it's really not a kind place for those of us in this super kind of niche B2B vertical space. And so there's challenges, there's problems in the SERPs, right? To further this, the knowledge panel, or whatever we're calling this thing on the side, if I click on examples, I get large machines, bulk materials, names of which and none of which are actually represented in the left-hand side of the SERPs. I click on function and it references a LinkedIn article. I click on cost. Look at this, study.com. Study.com is a site dedicated to developing course material for learning. Material handling equipment can range anywhere from a few $1,000s to multi-million-dollar capital expenditures. And Google is referencing something from study.com. They can't figure it out themselves. So there's challenges in the SERPs if you're in the B2B space. And there's challenges in how you talk about this and how you report on it. Take, for instance, an industrial B2B that shows up in the SERPs as a battery manufacturer. Battery manufacturer is the key word I want you to remember. When in reality, they make the equipment and automation processes that battery manufacturers are seeking. They make the equipment and the solution to make battery manufacturing happen, and to make it happen more efficiently and at scale, at a global level. They don't manufacture the battery, but Google thinks that they do. So what I'm going to tell you is that standards don't apply here for keyword research. Your search volumes around the majority of these things, these super niche verticals that you're going after, if you're in the B2B space, they're going to be micro to none. And this is agnostic of the tool you're using. It doesn't matter if you're using Moz's Keyword Explorer, you're using SEMrush, name the tool, it doesn't matter. Odds are your typical keyword research process is not going to work here. It's not going to apply because it's not going to generate the themes that are actually the most relevant to your audience. It will be relevant to the search engine, sure, but that's just a popularity contest. See, without an intimate understanding of our customer, without an intimate understanding of the customer, the potential audience that we're trying to target and the focus of these pages, it's going to continue to be wrong. So this lack of customer understanding leads to a major, major misalignment in your market. So what do? We play to the pain points, right? Pain points, not industry. Jason, that's like SEO 101 in 2023. I get it, but we all still get it wrong. Because like most things, if we don't understand the audience, we don't have an ear of that subject matter expert because we're not in the room. We're not on the shop floor listening to them. We're not out with the sales team. The experts who are in the field working with their customers through these challenges, you're never going to uncover the true pain points that are unique to their industry. So we optimize for the pain points. I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful world of plastic injection molding. Are there any plastic injection molding fans in the crowd? All right, see, thank you. Yeah, all right. Let's talk about plastic injection molding for a minute, right? I'm from the upper Midwest. We have a lot of that. There's also a lot going on in the East Coast, too, if you want to know for your PPC targeting. So plastic injection molding, for example, it doesn't matter the industry. What they care about is oxidization. They care about oxidization. It doesn't matter if you are molding disposable plastic syringes or you're making iPhone cases, a consumer product versus a medical product. What they care about is rust. Their issue is rust. Because when their molds rust, it creates all kinds of problems. It creates sticking, the products can't release, they have all kinds of issues going on there, right? So the industry doesn't matter. So if we're optimizing content for the pain points, keyword research is never going to uncover those true pain points that they're dealing with, like on the shop floor. Truly defining those customer pain points should be our guide. That's going to be our guide to creating content that ranks for the problem they're actually having, and to understand it and to understand their language. Now, understanding the need, the direct need, is going to increase engagement. And apparently there's an issue molding UHMW. Those of you who are not polymer nerds in the crowd, UHMW stands for ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. You can say that 5 times fast. It's commonly used in biomedical devices like implants and things like that. Ew, right? It's also found in your plastic cutting board that's probably in your kitchen right now. It's the same thing. Apparently it's not super fun for plastic injection molders. Wild. So the industry doesn't matter. Ford Motor Company comes to our client and they say, hey, don't bring us anything you're doing in the automotive industry. Hell, Henry Ford created half of this stuff. What we want to know is we want to know what you're doing across other industries, what other complex solutions that you are creating and challenges and things that you're fulfilling for. That's what we're curious about. So the industry doesn't care. Let's talk about reframing your content then, reframing the content for culture. So instead of reframing the content around a specific keyword theme, let's consider terms like Industry 4.0, Industrial IoT. Industry 4.0 is just a fancy term that manufacturers and the automotive industry coined for digital transformation. Industrial IoT is the connectivity of machines and equipment, my personal device, and a centralized database to give me information about throughput and productivity. It's the same thing that's happening on your Apple Watch, just in a different application. When we reframe the content completely to be directly in line with the language that the industry is using, we see a shift in results. These results are much more relevant and accurate for the type of customer you need to attract. Now, is this going to impact your GA report? Absolutely. Is this going to impact what you're seeing in Search Console? Yes, it will. But you have to kind of walk into that conversation with a bit of confidence and say, look, this is the reason why we need to shift it, because the industry doesn't care. Industry pages are a virtual gut check. Industry pages show that you can walk the walk and you can talk the talk. You have the certifications, you have the expertise to back up what it is that you do in that industry. So I'm going to challenge you with this. Does your content actually help the industry? Meaning, is your content helpful to that customer's unique challenge? Also, does that industry have a specific problem that is completely different from anyone else? If you take, for instance, I'm using Kennametal as an example here, but if you have a machine shop that's milling titanium for aerospace parts, and you have a machine shop that's milling titanium for biomed implants, Is the industry different? Yes, it is, but the material is the same. They're milling an often hard to machine material. It's lightweight, it's brittle, it's extremely hard. So the industry doesn't matter. So we start by making really big changes with our content and talking in these industry verticals when we get the SEOs in the room, right? If you are an SEO at an agency, you work inside of different B2B verticals, you work with SaaS products, I want your SEO team in the room, break the silos down, get out of the silos. So what you end up doing is turning real conversations into content that will continue to rank for themes that, quite frankly, don't matter, it's not valuable, or we create content that does actually matter to what your customer cares about. So I'll leave you with this. I want you to take action when you leave MozCon. That's what it's all about. 4th key things. Focus on identifying the pain points initially. That seems like a no-brainer, but you really have to dig in and focus on researching what the pain points are. 2nd is industries. Prioritize understanding the industry. I'm not saying you have to get intimate with plastic injection molding. I'm not saying that. There's riches and niches, I get it, but there's an advantage to being an outsider. You get to ask the dumb questions in the room because, hey, you're just the dumb SEO guy. I'm an engineer school dropout. Ignore volumes. Do not consider volumes as a determining factor. I'm not the first person that has stood on the stage at MozCon to talk about, hey, maybe you need to ignore the keyword volumes for a minute. And prioritize understanding the customer's needs and expectation. If you do these things, then you're going to move forward and you're going to create content that is actually worthwhile for your brand. It's the content that you need to rank. It's the content that's worthy of getting customers in your door. And with that, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here at MozCon. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you all.